CSU, another week of Coffee and Coaches, and we are so excited today. We have a very special guest, Johanna. Please help me say your last name. DeKalb?
DeKalb.
DeKalb. Okay, I always get that backwards. I can't remember which one is right and which one is wrong when I say it. Thank you. So to give you a little background info, Al and I were at Polteny High School one day, and Johanna was so excited to show us something that she had learned, and we immediately thought, and Al said out loud, "Ooh, you should join us for Coffee and Coaches." You guys are in for a very special treat today. This is so much fun and a great way to engage our students. So, Johanna, would you like to take it away?
Okay, well, to give a little background on it, my daughter is going to school for music education and was taking a class last semester on computer and instructional apps. And as part of her coursework, she learned how to create escape rooms using Google Slides. And she's been sharing at home like some of the things she's been learning. And she created one for a friend of mine on music, and I'm like, that's really cool. How do I do this? And so she started showing me some tips and tricks of how to do an escape room. I've created two. I've got one that I can share with you right now that I did with my 4th and 5th grade library classes as an introduction to some different apps we might be using during library classes to kind of introduce them to it. It's still kind of a work in progress. An escape room in Google Slides, it's like a Bitmoji classroom it's got hyperlinks embedded in where objects are used as like the icons or links to get you to other places, either in the program, could be like a sound or visual cue, could be a video, and you also create clues that you want students to keep track of, so that at the end, they click on an item in the escape room. It looks like a padlock in this case, and it brings them to a Google form where they try to solve the puzzle to escape. And if they solve it correctly, they're able to leave the escape room. It says, yay. If you don't get the answer right, it says, sorry, you'll try again. And they would go back and look at the clues again and see what they can do. And it's, in my case, I did like a word scramble. I had all the letters but one, so I gave them one letter when they came to the escape part, but then they were able to put the clues together. Most of them did get the clue right. There were some very generous hints provided to them, but I'll share it to you now. The second one I did with my 8th graders as a choice activity to go along with the 3 units we did, and with like a reflection. So I might not get into that one, but I will show you this one that I've got done. Okay, share screen. Boom. Share, I'm gonna go in. There we go. Okay, so this is my escape room that I created. You see it looks like a slideshow for all intents and purposes on this side. You can see the slides are created. Really easy to create the slides. I used a lot of like Bitmoji classroom type things with transparent pictures to layer them, text boxes, and some visuals, and then also building in some links, which I was familiar with doing. If I go into present to show it how it would be for the kids, it gives a little introduction on the first slide. And like today, we're using the escape room to learn about different programs that would help us with projects or assignments. It tells them you'll find clues throughout that you'll need to be able to get out, and good luck. And we're clicking on the computer to begin. And then giving them some instructions. Their instructions will be on the whiteboard. This is kind of like their home page for the activity. On the whiteboard at the front of the classroom, it says, click on the computers that display icons for different computer apps or programs to go to a page to learn more about the programs and find clues. At the end of our time, we come back here to try to solve the mystery and leave the escape room by clicking on the lock. So when they've completed the tasks, they would go here to access that Google form. And so some were kind of like gimme ones, like Google Classroom. All the kids, we started, most classes, we chose that one first. The day we did it in the 4-5, we did it together as a whole class activity because they had never done an escape room. So it's Google Classroom one. It gives us a little background what it is, and things they can access, kind of like a review. There's a clue. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that. Like I said, it's a work in progress. There's 3 letters in Classroom that fit for the escape code. Can you guess which ones? And to remember, this is something that you would use, because in one of the other clues, it tells them this is something they would use like every day. When they were done looking at this one, to go back to the Classroom page, there's an arrow to click the Google Classroom icon. Some of the other pages had different activities like Google Earth. We had, like, I put in a little video too, if they were doing this on their own, how to use Google Earth, a short video, a little introductory information, like what it can do. And if they clicked on the picture of the Earth up top, it allows them to go to Google Earth, and I asked them to search for Poultney Elementary School, and they did that, and what they were able to see, and some of the things when they zoomed in, they were able to see our playground, the Gaga ball pit, the softball field out back. So they were all very excited about that. And then it was getting into, I wonder if I can find my house, or I wonder if I can find Stewart's or the college, and going from there. And so it's another lesson in itself. And then their clue was 3 letters in the word Earth that were a part of the escape code. And the letters are also found in the name of something you use every day. And once they were done, go back to the classroom. They clicked on the Google Earth icon. Also had a Flipgrid one. And the Flipgrid also gave them an opportunity to go to a Flipgrid and answer the prompt that I had created. We had Loom for some screencasting, and then Screencastify as well. Screencastify, we actually have gone on from this lesson to, we've started working with Screencastify a little bit more deeper, exploring it further so they can get an opportunity to work with it this year. So this was just for an introduction, some information on Screencastify, and when they were done, we went back. Once they finished, we were able to click on the lock to open that Google form. It says to escape the library, you will need the letters you wrote down from the clues, plus they also need the letter U. And the hint, the solution is something that you would need to use with all of the apps you learned about today. And they were told they could type the 8-letter code here to escape the library. If you don't get it right the first time, try it again. And they had to make sure they used capital letters the way it was set up. If they answered incorrectly, it will tell them, sorry, that's not the right answer. Please try again. I haven't quite figured out how to get it to say if they've completed it. Oh, great job. You found the answer. I have to go back and ask Jennifer. She's kind of my guru for this activity. I have to go back and ask her if she remembers how to do that part, because I kind of did this one totally on my own without her help. That's one. I took the same template for this one, modified it a little bit further for the 8th graders to tie it into what we were actually doing in class at the end of a unit. Okay, so this is the right one. Yeah. With the 8th graders, I called it a choose your own adventure activity, because I only have my classes for 6 weeks at the high school. So this was their choose their own adventure for the final class day. Started the same, clicking the computer, have same format. With the 8th graders, we'd been working with Scratch, we'd been working with SketchUp, We'd worked with Tinkercad, and we also worked with Coder-Z for some virtual robotics. So when we went there to Coder-Z, if you completed all 3 levels of the program, there's a cool game you could try out. Another option was to click on the My Projects tab on the left of the screen and create and program your own virtual robot. Really cool to be able to do that, and to take a screenshot of your work if you chose this adventure to turn in. So they had a task they had to do. And they remember that we were using Coder-Z that week, so the link to it was found right in Google Classroom.
This is Mahoney. Could you call extension 7001, please?
If they went to Scratch, just a review, we'd use the app to create automatic drawing programs, interactive mazes, or Mad Libs. If you chose the adventure, what was something you could create? Reviewed the link to Scratch with our class username and password. And just a reminder, they had some great how-to videos for creating projects. So it gave them a chance to kind of go in and maybe explore some of the activities we had done over the 6 weeks a little bit further. And so their Google form looked a little bit different. Theirs was just a review. There's like a reflection, what activity they chose and why, and to answer the question below in 3 to 4 sentences. And I got some responses from students as far as they chose Scratch because they really enjoyed coding and programming. They liked it when we created the auto draw program, so they wanted to explore that a little bit further. A couple other kids chose, they didn't do Tinkercad. Some used SketchUp. They liked SketchUp. Other kids said, no, I use Tinkercad for this because I really enjoy using Tinkercad, and told me in no uncertain terms that SketchUp was terrible. So I gave them a chance to kind of choose their own adventure for the last class and have fun with it. So it can be modified depending on what you'd like to use it for. By adding like videos, it's almost a little bit like a HyperDoc. I explored HyperDocs last week at the in-service, and it's a little bit, the escape room's a little bit like a HyperDoc. There's just seems to be a lot more visuals involved by bringing in like the Bitmoji classroom pieces, but you can import, put in video links, picture links, links to websites maybe you've curated or materials you've curated, and give kids an option. And I really liked the choose your own adventure format for like the one I did with the 8th graders, because it's gave them some voice and choice for the last day of the class for an activity they could do. And they're fun. They are fun to create and kind of fun to play around with. Now the 4th and 5th graders really enjoyed being able to try to solve the word scramble, and I think I had about 5 kids shout out at once what the correct answer was. So, but it's fun, and like I said, I'm enjoying learning some different tech tools too. From my daughter, she's been great at kind of sharing what she's been learning, and it's been kind of helpful. It's been good practice for her too. So it's been helpful to learn something that I didn't know how to do before.
But you'll have to make sure that you thank Jennifer for us, because
Yes.
We appreciate that she shared it with you.
She also told me, when I told her I was coming on today, she said, well, it's not just me. You have to thank Dr. Welch. She goes, Dr. Welch at Castleton is wonderful. Dr. Welch is the one that taught me how to do this. So
awesome.
Definitely Dr. Welch in the music ed program at Castleton has really introduced some of the students there to a lot of different tech tools.
That's great.
And it's great when they can share them with us.
Mm-hmm. So Joanna, I have a question.
Okay.
This looks really deeply involved, and this looks like it's going to take way more time than a classroom teacher would have. Did you find that was the case, or how long do you think it took you to do your first one?
The first one, the one I used with my 4th and 5th graders, it took me a couple of evenings at home trying to sit and play with it and make sure the links worked and find like the pictures I needed and the icons. So definitely there is time involved. And I definitely tried to plan it out on paper first. What apps do I want to use? What do I want to say? what kind of information will I need, so that I could look for resources. And it's still a work in progress. This was for a first attempt. It's okay. I'd like to see what else I can do with it, and kind of get a little bit more skilled at creating them. But definitely there is a time involvement. It's like how much time do I have to put into this? It's something maybe over a weekend, or even like a couple of evenings to find materials, but definitely planning it out.
Were you able to, when you created the 8th grade one, did you just copy?
I did.
Less time because you had already kind of had a template. So I imagine
once I built that first template, I did. For the 8th grade one, I just copied the template and then went in and changed the slides. Of course, making sure that changing the slides, I also had to remember to change my links so that I had the links going to the right places, and testing it out. The Google Doc, the Google form part at the end, that's the part that seems to be that gives me a little tricky trouble trying to get it to work correctly. There is a trick to doing it. I've looked on YouTube to see YouTube has great resources as well on creating a virtual escape room and using a Google form. There was even one they showed on YouTube on just doing it all through a Google form. But I like the visuals.
Yeah,
visuals are appealing, so
that was what got me so excited when I saw it. When you demoed the music one to us the first time, the visuals were they drew me right in, and I thought, what an engaging way to present this kind of learning. And I just thought it was fantastic. Yeah, I do think that the forms piece is probably the most difficult part to figure out.
Yeah.
But I also think we've got some modules on our website about Google Forms and using them as self-correcting quizzes that might help with that too. Just as an aside, sorry.
No problem. I'm enjoying the modules. After last Friday, I've incorporated using some of the hyperdocs this week, playing with creating hyperdocs with some of my classes to use. So it's a little bit similar because I've got the embedded links in them, but it's kind of nice. All the information's in the same place and the resources. So.
And you mentioned already your students were really excited to use it, so engagement was high.
And we went from that lesson was like an introductory on the different apps for the 4th and 5th grade, and last week we jumped into looking at Screencastify, making sure everyone had access on their Chromebooks to Screencastify and how to find it and get it set up, so that this week we're going to go a little bit further with it and create like a simple narration of a project they've already created for, like within their classroom, whether it's starting to read a story they've written, or present like a slideshow so they can see how it works. And so it was kind of nice because they're like, oh yeah, you mentioned this program last week. So it gave them a little bit of a heads up that, okay, yeah, we've heard of this. It wasn't totally brand new.
Awesome. Did you find that there were because you said it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
So did you find when you presented it to the class that there were things that you needed to go back and tweak, or things you didn't think of? Like what was your process?
Right now, some of them is, I know, like when I was sharing it, I clicked on the one link and it went to Loom first, and it's like, or switch to Loom mid slide. So I've got to look at that and see if I had set that with a time. I didn't think there was a time set on how long the slide displayed, so I've got to go back and look at that. And it's like with the Google form at the end, to play around with that further and get that more streamlined. So the kids, if they have the right answer, it lets them know, because that was like, oh, well, I put in the answer, what happens now? and maybe having something where or it would be nice if once they put the answer in, if it would automatically bring them back to that home page instead of having to click on the tab at the top to close it and go back. So there's definitely some things I'd like to go back and tweak a little bit further.
It's great.
I
think
think
it's
it's
so
true
great.
with any of the tech.
I would be scared. I'm scared to try something new and throw it right out there like that, knowing that it still needed some tweaks and things. And I think that's what this whole process is about, right? You just got to try it, and if it doesn't work, you tweak it and you keep going. It's awesome.
And the kids sometimes they're a good audience. They're receptive, and a lot of times they'll tell me, no, that with the HyperDoc I did Monday, I have 2 grade levels on separate days, and the first day we're using the HyperDoc didn't go so well. Tuesday with the other grade level, same grade level, different class, the other classroom, I was able to present it and work with it in a way where the kids got it a lot better, and were able to not have so many questions or problems with working with the program. Trial and error.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So what would you say to teachers or other educators that wanted to give this a try for something? What would you say to them? Like, how could they get started?
Well, get familiar with
reach out
Google
to you
Slides.
for some help?
Yeah, get familiar with Google Slides, or what's helped me is I've watched like a couple of videos on doing interactive slideshows. There's a couple of really good resources online on YouTube on creating a Bitmoji classroom or creating an interactive slideshow, and it was getting familiar with that. I've done embedding links before in slideshows, so I knew I could do it. It was just trying to figure out how to implement it in like the escape room format. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try it out and play. The best way to learn about some of the technology that we're seeing or some of these ideas is to just go out and play with it and see what happens. You know, it's like I said, I think I've learned more, I think, this year from like watching other teachers or looking online. Remote learning last spring, finding ways to kind of teach my experience group kind of out of the box when I wasn't in person, and what tools I could find online to help me convey the information to students better. And this is another tool for that, in my opinion. It's another way to convey the information, and with the visuals, maybe, and get them more engaged with it and go from there. But definitely for teachers, don't be afraid to try and to play. I like playing with computers and playing with docs and programs. So this was fun for me. It wasn't really so much work as it was something fun to do, because it was outside of the box, something that I don't do every day.
I've heard that from other teachers when they were doing Bitmoji classrooms and that sort of thing, that it's more of like a therapy and a fun thing to do than work. But at the same time, you're making something for your students that they can have. And that engagement piece sounds really big.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Are there any other questions, guys, for Johanna?
No, I think that was really engaging. I think students would react really positively to that experience.
Oh, thanks.
And I had so much fun when you shared it with us. I went through and I did it, and I got the answer right. It's fun and neat and to go through and see how to go from one place to another place. learn and have fun. So thank you so much for coming and sharing this with us. And I was thinking what we might do is in the comments with the video when it's on YouTube is throw in that module that Al was talking about. And I actually think we have another one on Google Slides.
Yeah, we have a couple that we could
A
attach
couple
that might
that
help.
might actually help be like beginner steps to kind of this sort of idea. And
I think there was an interactive slides. I think I looked at last fall, so I think there is a module on the interactive slides.
And
so we can share those.
did we do a module on Bitmoji classrooms too?
We did a lunch and learn.
A lunch and learn?
Lunch and learn. We can link those too. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. And then maybe I'm throwing you on the spot here, Johanna. Maybe you could come back again and show us a couple of the steps, the beginner steps to how to do one sometime coming up. That'd be great.
That would be cool.
Okay,
That would be very cool.
that would be fun.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
This was
thank
great.
you.
This was a lot of fun. We love seeing new ideas.
Well,
And we
thank you.
love having our teachers on and librarians.
Yeah. Well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.